My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours. We're a music podcast that chats to artists, musicians and creatives on their songwriting process and upcoming releases. This is episode 228 and I am your host, as always, Simon Fink. Thank you for listening to our pod. We appreciate it very much. And if you do feel like it, please go and subscribe on whatever podcast app you use and follow us on our socials. All those links are in the show notes of this episode, of which we've got a very special guest today. For the episode, it is Conor Maynard. He's joining us on the pod for a lovely chat about his new music. Conor has been making music for over a decade now, and a lot of you would know him from his breakout single, Can't Say No, which we will play a little bit of now. That single went to number 2 on the UK charts back in 2012, and in that same year, Conor was a contender for the MTV Brand New Award, which was an award for upcoming talent. He was up against such contenders as other new artists at the time, Lana and Lianne Havas. Conor went on to win that award and beat out the competition. Since then, he's just been kicking goals. He's toured the globe multiple times. He's had top 20 singles for the last 10 years, and he's collaborated with artists like Neo, Frank Ocean, and Pharrell. He's also very popular on his social media platforms and maintains a brilliant connection with his fans. Checking it earlier this morning, I think he was sitting at 13.3 million subscribers for his YouTube, so he's obviously doing something right. Last week, he released his first piece of new music for the year in the form of single If I Ever. It is a brilliant piece of pop music and is definitely one for those who have ever had their heart broken. We were lucky enough to catch up with Conor from his London flat, and we discussed the songwriting of the new single and the heartbreak that inspired it. We discussed what the creative process is like for him and some of the, I would say, best / most honest advice that he ever received from the industry, from one Miss Katy Perry. We also do touch on the possibility of some Australian tour dates, and you will just have to listen to the episode to find out what the news is for that one. We do want to give a big shout out to John at Prospect PR for his help with this episode, and we want to mention all of Conor's socials can be found in the show notes. If you want to follow him after listening to this chat, we'll make sure we update any forthcoming news on our socials. But with that, here, let's get into it. Here's our conversation with Conor Maynard. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Conor Maynard. Hello, sir. How are we?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Where are you joining us from today, actually?
I'm in London. I'm in my apartment in London, UK. So, yeah.
Beautiful. What is it like there? Where are we? We're in the middle to end of Jan. What's it like? Is it still cold in London at the moment?
It is freezing at the moment. It's weird. It took a really cold dip in the middle of December, and then it kind of warmed up again, and then oh my goodness, in January it just absolutely plummeted again, and it's been freezing the past few weeks. So yeah, it's rough. It's rough right now.
I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully the weather does improve a little bit. It gets a little bit warmer for you.
Your guys' summer right now, right?
It is. We're currently experiencing the 30 to 40 degree heat days at the moment, Celsius, which is always fun. It's one of those things.
The complete opposite of us right now.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's we can't win either way, really, can we? Conor, it's a very exciting time at the moment. We are lucky enough, we've got some brand new music from you at the moment in the form of single If I Ever, which is out now. It is a brilliant track. So firstly, congratulations on this single, mate.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
No, of course. How are you feeling? It is the first new music that we've got for you this year. How are you feeling? It's a brand new year, brand new music.
Yeah, feeling good. I think that I kind of, I think this song, as you said, it marks the first single, the first release of this year. It marks the first release of a string of singles that are kind of going to follow each other back to back in somewhat of a project, I guess an album or an EP, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of going to all amalgamate to one body of work. So yeah, I kind of knew in my head that kind of this year I was gonna go kind of really go for it. And at the end of last year, I took a bit of a break off of social media, etc. after the end of my tour and stuff. And I kind of I came back in January, kind of just ready to go. So yeah.
It is very exciting. I was going to touch on that. I know that, the tail end of last year, you kind of went a little bit quiet on the socials and took a bit of a break. For someone who has come up through the digital age, you've been a musician for the last, more than 10 years, but people would know that you've kind of had success not only in music, but on YouTube and across social media as well. What was that break kind of like? And I guess what made you realise you needed to kind of have some time for yourself?
Well, I think that I think for me throughout the years of using social media, although I'm still very me on social media, it's still somewhat of a persona / character, because obviously I think there's still going to be things that happen where I'll need a level of privacy or things that I'll keep to, I'll have my own kind of private life as well as my kind of online social media life. And I think I went through kind of a quite kind of, just horrible end of a relationship towards the end of last year. And I think I just kind of felt like I needed to step back and kind of just take my own time to heal, not have to feel like I had to kind of keep up the persona that I was kind of portraying online, which is normally quite positive, quite kind of, I rely quite heavily on my humor and obviously my music, etc. And I feel like at that point I didn't really feel like putting out things to the public. I kind of felt like just taking a step back, getting in the studio, pouring everything I was feeling into writing music and making some new songs. Because I also know that when it comes to releasing songs, it feels all the more fulfilling when that song means something to you, when you know that you're kind of putting something out there that is really personal. I feel like for me at least, it feels so much more rewarding and for people to hear it and you kind of have a lot more motivation to kind of go out there and do all the things that you need to do for that song. And I think I just needed a bit of a step back to not have to feel like I was faking anything or kind of pretend that everything was fine when I knew that it wasn't.
100%. I can very much respect that and appreciate that. And I think that, especially given the last number of years that everyone has been through, I think that there is more and more of a focus on people allowing themselves to acknowledge that they need that time away and kind of take that. So I can very much respect that. And I think it is, you can almost hear a bit of like a recharge. It sounds like in this new single, If I Ever, it does sound like you've taken that time and kind of poured your heart into this brilliant track. It is a breakup track, as you mentioned, and I think that the lyrics are very relatable to anyone who's ever kind of wanted to have that separation from the other party and not have them engage in any form of contact, even if it did end amicably. How did you find the songwriting process for this? Because I imagine it can be somewhat difficult to, craft a good pop hit without spilling your heart, spilling your guts into everything.
I think that when I write music, I'll always have a standard that I want to kind of keep that music at, regardless. I'll always want to kind of keep the quality as high as possible. But when you're writing about something that really happened to you and something that you really want to make sure you articulate perfectly, I become like an absolute perfectionist. We must have written, so many songs, like so many different tracks, just kind of chipping away exactly how I wanted tell the story, you know, how I wanted to kind of portray the kind of sequence of events. And, you know, we scrapped so many different ideas until, you know, before we finally came across If I Ever. And I think songwriting, I remember I heard in an interview, I believe it was actually with Zane Lowe and Harry Styles, they were talking about songwriting, and they said an analogy that I thought was really clever, and it really is, like, it kind of really hits the nail on the head when it comes to songwriting, is quite like surfing, in the sense that, like, you'll be kind of out in the water, and you have the skill set to surf. You know that you can do it, aka you know how to songwrite, but you need that wave to come to be able to actually to do it. And you have no control over that wave. That wave will come whenever it wants. And all you can do is be in the water ready for the wave. And it's kind of like songwriting. It's like a lot of people are very, very good at songwriting and can do it. But there's that kind of like magic that has to happen. There's this kind of timing that's just perfect, where all the ideas that kind of come out within the room are all just great and everything just works together. Because obviously if it was a formula that was easy, people would write hit songs every single day. Exactly. There is no formula. As I said, it has to have this kind of like almost stroke of luck that comes with it. And that's kind of what it was. We were in the studio, we were kind of thinking of new ideas all the time. And then all of a sudden on the day when If I Ever was written, we kind of all looked at each other and were like, oh, like this, okay, this one is special. This one is definitely going out. And yeah, it just felt right. It felt like it opened the door of what I wanted to talk about. As I said, there's going to be more songs that kind of dig deeper into the whole situation. But If I Ever felt like a really good starting point for kind of telling that story. So, yeah.
It is a very brilliant single, as we've mentioned. The sonics for the single, they do sound a little bit different. I'd say that people who might be aware of your work, and you've always kind of dabbled in different genres, but I'd say the last year or so has mainly been a more pop and R&B focused, maybe output of music. And this seems to almost be, I don't want to say it's like indie pop, but it's almost like the 1975 adjacent, or the sonics are kind of pushing into some new indie rock territory, I almost want to say. Yeah, definitely.
Like the 1975 were definitely up there as kind of big influences with this song in particular. I think we'll also come to realize that as each track comes out, they're quite different sonically from each other. So I feel like, you know, it's kind of an amalgamation of like all the things I've been listening to the last couple of years. You know, I'm a huge fan of 1975. I went to their concert recently. I'm also a huge fan of The Weeknd. So there's kind of like his kind of influence in there. And then also tying it together with what I feel is right for me and is kind of right for only me. I think that obviously there's going to have to be a huge essence of Conor Maynard in there as well. So I feel like it's kind of just mixing them all together and trying out new things. And obviously I have to love it at the same time. So, yeah, I think that there's definitely a lot of influences in the new track. So, yeah.
Are you someone who, when you're in the studio and songwriting, are you someone who will... we've spoken to a number of musicians and songwriters who either one or two camps where they'll allow themselves to listen to other music while in the studio, and then some who will kind of shut it off so that they're not indirectly or directly kind of allowing something to be influencing a track or an album.
I mean, I definitely understand both sides of it. I understand that sometimes when you listen to other music in the studio, you can kind of end up accidentally making a kind of B-rate version of the song that you were listening to, or like, you know, trying to take influence from. But I think sometimes it's also good to listen to music to kind of almost just to reset. Because I think sometimes when you're creating music, you can get quite lost in like what sounds good, what doesn't, like what's the right decision. And sometimes you take a step back and kind of listen to other music and be like, okay, no, we are making music that sounds good. Like we're good. Like we can stop worrying type thing. So I don't know. I can see it from both sides. I feel like I don't listen to that much music, like other music in the studio, but at the same time, like if it feels like, right, let's have a quick reset. Let's hit the reset button. Then we'll listen to some music that we like and just get back in the zone. So yeah.
100%. Are you a songwriter who, I guess, are you a lyrics person first? Are you a melody person first? Or is it just whatever kind of inspiration hits at the time?
I would say a mix of both. I would say that I'll work on the melody and the lyrics with every single song that I write. The melody will usually come first. The way that I write is I will kind of try and nail different melodies for each part of the track. Normally focusing on the chorus first, because people would argue that's maybe the most important part of a song. So usually try and write a chorus, but often the verse will come first. Often the pre-chorus will come first. And then lyrics, well, especially with this project, I can't even tell you the amount of hours I've spent sat in a room with either other songwriters or like producers I'm working with, kind of just venting and like telling them the story of everything I kind of went through throughout last year, and kind of how, the effects that had on me, kind of how that left me feeling. It is quite funny because your accent is kind of giving me minor PTSD slightly because the girl in question was Australian and is the only Australian girl I've ever dated in my life. So, so that was fun. But I've spent countless hours kind of like telling the story, and then obviously that's kind of where the lyrics kind of come from. The lyrics will be taken from different excerpts of the story, and kind of just to make it feel more real, make it feel more relatable to not only me but to everyone, because realistically, like, we go through so many similar emotions when we go through breakups as humans. And I think that one thing I always really seem to like is if I listen to a song that's kind of about a breakup, is when they kind of touch on a feeling or an emotion that's quite niche and you don't even think about it until you hear it in a song and you go, oh my God, yes, I do feel that. Or I go through, I do exactly that as well. And I think for me, the main thing I wanted to do was make a song where it felt like it touched on emotions and feelings and situations we find ourselves in post relationship that not many people have maybe touched on before. So yeah,
100%. It's almost like you're trying to find the emotion that the listener's not even aware that they've felt or that they're feeling before they've done it, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Also, I apologize. I will. I'm hoping that the person in question that we are talking about didn't have as low Australian voice as myself, but I will try
the tone was very different. It was just the accent. It's pretty similar. So, yeah.
You've mentioned that you've talked to other songwriters about this, and I know that you are a man who is not afraid of a collaboration. I know that even in the last year you've collaborated with, I believe, your friend Anth. In the past, you've collaborated with artists like Neo, who I know you have a bit of a background with. For you, what's, I guess, a key component for that collaboration process? What is important to you, Conor, when you're looking for someone to collaborate with?
At BlueNile.com, you can find endless ways to make your moments sparkle. From classic and timeless jewelry gifts to creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams. All at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. And right now, you can save up to 40% on fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings during the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale going on now. Go to BlueNile.com to shop the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale and save up to 40%. That's BlueNile.com.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Well, I mean, firstly, being a big fan of the other person is obviously insanely important. I think that it's all the more exciting and all the more kind of motivating when you're a kind of genuine fan of the other person you're working with, when you truly believe that they're an extremely talented individual. I think that it makes the kind of workload so much easier. Often, seeing eye to eye on the kind of creative direction is also really helpful. And yeah, both just believing in it. I think, but like both of you like need to obviously believe in the project, believe in the song. If one of you is kind of like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work, it probably won't. I think that, if you're both kind of really, hold a lot of faith in the song or in the idea, then, it's much more likely to work out. And, with me working essentially pretty much every collaboration I did on my first album, obviously I was a new upcoming artist, so I wasn't the one that could turn around and go, right, I want him, I want this person, I want her. Like, I kind of was at the mercy of whoever felt like they wanted to work with me, because, I was the new fresh face at the time. So obviously I was extremely fortunate that people like Neo, people like Pharrell and Frank Ocean stepped forward and were like, oh, like, well, I like his stuff, I'd like to work with him. And that was obviously an amazing feeling for me at, 19 years old, like fresh out of Brighton, my hometown in the UK. I was able to work with such kind of iconic people on my literal first album. So obviously, I was very lucky that they'd come across my stuff and were fans of what I'd posted. So yeah.
Do you think that having had some of those experiences at 19, as you said, at such a young age, that there were lessons that you've picked up from, maybe not from all of the names that you mentioned, but I guess from people along the way, that you were able to cherry pick teachings to learn, I guess, the best way to go about like songwriting and being in the studio and things like that?
Yeah, I was taught loads of things kind of along the way. I remember every single person that was kind of, extremely well established in the industry kind of almost had so many different lessons for me, like, and always make a point of teaching me different things. I remember like when working with Pharrell, one of his main points was like not to ever get lost in trying to compete with anyone else. Like don't like look at other artists and think, well, they're doing this, maybe like just do your own thing and just like, you'll be rewarded for kind of staying in your own, well, not staying in your own lane, but not trying to get in a lane purposely to compete with other people. Kind of being in your own space, etc. I remember one of the funniest ones. I mean, this is not really advice; it was more just like a comment that was made. But I met Katy Perry really briefly at an event because we were both signed to the same label at the time. So I was kind of the new signing. So I went to this event, and the guys that were on the label took me over to meet Katy, because they were like, "Oh, you guys should meet each other." And she kind of put her arm, and she was like, "This industry will kill you." And I was just like, okay, thanks, Katy. So yeah, I was just like, thanks for that one, I guess. Like, and to be fair, looking back, she was right. But it was a really funny moment. I remember I always think about, like, it was just so random, and I was like, oh, all right, cool, thanks. And that's pretty much the only thing one of us said to each other. So Katy will always go down as one of the great scholars that I met in my life, I think. So that was pretty cool. And Neo was always just like super supportive. He was always just super like kind and like he would just say like really, really cool things. Like in the studio or whatever, he would just be like, really kind of. He would just give so much praise and so many compliments. He was just such a nice guy. Like, so, I definitely was very fortunate and lucky to be surrounded by and working with some really, really cool people at the start of my career. So yeah.
I love that. And I love that you seem to have gotten a spectrum of advice from both positive and maybe too honest from Katy Perry, but I still love that. As we mentioned, last year was a massive year for you, Conor. I think it was your biggest tour to date. I think that there was a number of collaborations, as I mentioned. I know that there was at some point, or I think it was kind of hinted at, that there might be Asian and Australian tour dates announced at some point. Can we still expect to maybe see you down here at any point in the next 12 months?
Yes, 100%. I'm literally announcing it in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm coming there for the first time. and it's this year. Obviously, the dates will be confirmed. They're already confirmed. I know them, but like the dates are already already set in stone, and they're this year. And I'm like super excited to announce the second half of the tour. We're just basically finalizing some of the dates that have kind of come in last minute for some other areas of the world. And I'm excited to do it. I think that it kind of was a shame that we couldn't do it in the first run, because I believe parts of Asia were still kind of under strict kind of COVID rules, etc. So we kind of thought, well, let's maybe like push it back so that we can kind of visit those parts of the world. And as of right now, it looks like it's kind of almost ready to go. So I think that I'm gonna be down there for the first time. I'm super excited. So yeah.
That is very, very exciting news, and we'll make sure that when the news is announced in a few weeks, we'll make sure we post it on the social on our social channels along with this episode, so that everyone can find the links to where you're playing. Do you have a favorite? Because sometimes touring, especially internationally, can look, obviously there's the shows themselves, there's the fans, but it can be grueling at times, I guess. Do you have a favorite aspect of touring, and then another aspect of touring that I guess you maybe wish could be a little bit different? I
mean, I've been quite fortunate with touring. I feel like I often really, really enjoy it. I'm like Anth comes on tour with me. He's my support act, so it's like having my best friend with me all the time, which is obviously sick to be on a sick when we're on tour. So obviously we get up to all sorts of things while we're on tour, and it's always a lot of fun because I'm very close with my band as well. They're like really cool guys, and I kind of love them to pieces. So they're really cool, and like all the crew are always so nice. So that's always been really easy and really fun. And actually, my DJ who comes on tour with me often, I believe, is coming to the Asia Australia leg as well. He's literally my friend from school. So like we've been friends for a very long time as well. He's I'm going to his wedding next year. I think, is it this year? I can't remember. I think it's either this year or next year. I'm not sure. But so like, we're really, really close. I feel like the traveling doesn't bother me too much. I quite like kind of seeing the different cities. I would just say the main thing that's really tricky is my voice. I don't know what it is. I feel like I definitely don't look after it as much as I should when I'm on tour. I feel like, because the problem is there's a balance where it's like you can either go on tour and have loads of fun and probably lose your voice very quickly, or go on tour, be really strict with yourself, go back to the hotel, go back to the tour bus, early hours, don't speak to anyone, basically be very bored and lonely the entire time, but get through the shows. And it's very hard to kind of find that balance of like, well, obviously you don't want to drive yourself insane by being miserable the entire time. You want to have fun. You want to experience different things and meet different people and talk to different people. But at the same time, you have to be so careful with your voice. Otherwise, you will lose it. So that, I would say, is definitely the toughest aspect of tour, is kind of having that balance of, I still want to kind of keep my sanity by having a good time, but at the same time I need to be really careful with my vocals and stuff, because they can go really quickly if you don't look after them.
I can imagine that it is a very fine line that you're treading, because especially if you're traveling internationally and you're kind of seeing cities you've never been to, and if you're simply going to the hotel room, you're just seeing the inside of arenas or venues and then kind of going home, aren't you?
Exactly, yeah, and I feel like that's kind of sucks the fun out of it. But you kind of, you want to be able to see the city. You want to be able to see the area and the people. You want to be able to experience that and say that you kind of actually went to that city, as opposed to, oh well, I just went there, went from the hotel to the venue and then left. Like, it's not. You can't even really say you went to the city at that point. So, but as I said, like, I've toured with other artists who, I guess, are more on the kind of introvert kind of side, where in terms of socially, they are kind of happy to just go back to the hotel and go to sleep. And touring for them seems so easy because they enjoy it that way. And, their voice is always, preserved really well, etc. Whereas I'm much more of like a get out there and have some fun type person. So it can be really tough for me sometimes to keep my voice intact. So, yeah.
Well, hopefully when you are down visiting in Australia and in Asia, you're able to find that balance and still see some of what the country has to offer with still maintaining that voice of yours.
Definitely, I hope so.
Connor, we would usually ask our guests what they're currently listening to. If there's anything at the moment that's kind of on a high rotation for yourself.
I've actually been listening to a lot of podcasts at the moment as opposed to music. I think that I work so heavily on music, I end up listening to more podcasts than anything. I've been obsessed with the Last of Us podcast, like kind of the TV show that's just come out. I played that game literally in 2013, I believe, when it came out. And I've played it all the way through 3 times. I've played the second one. And as soon as the show was announced like years ago, I was so excited. And now that it's out, I've been watching it like every week. And then I even listen to the podcast after each episode comes out. So that's been really good. But in terms of music, there's an artist called Breakins. Don't know if you're familiar with Breakins. He's got a song called 5G that I think is really, really cool. I've been listening to that quite a lot recently. John Bellion, who's a super talented songwriter. I've been listening to some of his stuff quite a lot recently. So funny, I'm looking at my searches on Spotify, and Anth is all the way up there. Normally I'm just checking how his releases are doing and everything is going well for him. The 1975 are up there. Frank Ocean's up there. Yeah, so that's mainly it, really. So yeah,
so solid choices. I can appreciate all of those. So very quickly, just checking, going back to The Last of Us, recommend it as a TV show?
Oh, 100%, definitely watch it. It's literally, I'm so happy because when I was on tour, I was watching Rings of Power and Game of Thrones, the House of the Dragon, both of them, and I finished them both while I was on tour. And then obviously when the kind of whole relationship end thing happened, I think at the time I remember thinking like, it would have been really nice if there was like a TV show I could have like immersed myself into, because I was working solidly throughout the day in the studio, and then in the evenings I kind of be a bit like, I've got nothing to really do. I don't really know what to do, like, because I didn't want to go out and party and stuff. I wanted to kind of just stay home and stay focused on my work. And I was like, I'd love to have a TV show to watch right now, but everything I was into, I'd already watched it. And then obviously Last of Us came out a couple of weeks ago, and it's literally like saved me. It's like it's the show I look forward to every week, and it's really good, really, really good. So yeah.
That's very exciting to hear. I think my wife and I are starting it this weekend. We've got it lined up, so I hope you enjoy it. I'm really sorry if you don't like it, but it's the reviews are intense. I think as of right now, I think only 2 episodes are out, and I don't know which which review site it is, but it's already rated the top TV show of all time. I did say that, so there's no pressure.
It will level out as the series goes on, but yeah, it was so insane to see how well it was received, like straight away. So yeah,
100%. Well, what we'll do, we'll watch it. If it's not great, you and I can compare notes when you are down in Australia. We'll have a chat.
Exactly. You can tell me why you didn't like it, and I'll tell you why I think it's great.
Connor, look, thank you very much for your time and joining us on the podcast, and congrats again on the single, mate. It is fantastic. It is called If I Ever, and we'll be putting it in the podcast show notes for everyone to be able to find and stream, and we'll make sure again that we promote those show dates when they're released.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you? If people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else. Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.